Ryan Blaney winning at New Hampshire was already the headline. Back-to-back at the Magic Mile. 20th career win. A pit crew mistake turned into a comeback story. That's clean, and it's the version most of this sport will tell today. But the number that actually decides something this week isn't 20, it's 31. There is a driver in this garage who has won 2 races in 2026. He owns 8 career Cup Series victories, the most by anyone in the history of this sport who was not born in the United States. He qualified 5th on Sunday, he led the opening stage by 9 seconds, and he has spent this entire summer doing the single hardest thing an outsider can do in stock car racing, which is learning to race an oval well enough that people stop calling him a specialist. He did it well enough that his own crew chief moved the target from surviving to top 10s being the benchmark. And with 1 race left in the regular season, he is 31 points from being eliminated. Nobody fired him. Nobody tore up his contract. Nobody wrecked him, and his engine didn't let go. He finished 20th on Sunday, which is not a disaster in any language you want to speak. His name is Shane van Gisbergen. Saturday night, 7:30 Eastern, 160 laps at Daytona International Speedway, and the 16-driver Chase field gets locked. He will run it on a superspeedway rules package that nobody in the garage has ever raced. Here's the part that doesn't fit. This is the best season of his NASCAR career, because 6 days before he ran 20th at Loudon, the driver Trackhouse Racing built its entire future around signed with somebody else. And almost nobody has stopped to ask what that does to the man currently carrying the team. So what happens to an organization when its best season and its worst news arrive in the same 11 days? If you want the version of this sport that goes past the box score, Freedom Line News is still a small channel. And the people subscribing this week are the ones who get to say they were here before this chase field was ever set. To understand the 31 points, you have to understand what NASCAR took away. In 2025, Van Gisbergen won 5 races, the most ever by a Cup Series rookie, and finished 25th in the regular season standings. 25th. He made the playoffs anyway, because win and you're in existed, and 1 trophy was a key to the door. Across the first 12 oval races of 2026, measured against the same stretch a year earlier, his average finish moved from 27.5 to 19.25. 8 positions. Drivers do not usually move 8 positions. In June, he sat 12th in points, 44 clear of the cut line. In July, 54 clear. He got better. Nashville, May 31st, 5th place. His first oval top 5 in the Cup Series, in his 50th career oval start, decided by 1,000th of a second over Chase Elliott. North Wilkesboro in July, 5th again, a career best on a short track, 49 laps led, more than he had ever led on an oval, and 355 laps running inside the top 5 when his previous best was 110. Stephen Doran, his crew chief, stopped talking about survival out loud. NASCAR scrapped that rule for 2026. The chase came back, top 16 on points after 26 races, and nothing else. A win is now worth 15 bonus points. It is not worth a seat. So Van Gisbergen had a choice that was never really a choice. Get better on ovals or go home in September. But then the calendar turned, and that gap started moving the wrong direction. And on Monday, August 17th, everything around him changed. Hendrick Motorsports announced that Connor Zilisch had signed a multi-year deal to drive the number 48 Ally Chevrolet beginning in 2028, taking the seat from Alex Bowman when Bowman retires from full-time competition after 2027. That is a team owner being honest in public, which is rarer than it should be. Understand what Zillish was supposed to be. 10 wins in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series in 2025. 18 consecutive top 5s, a regular season championship. Zillish is 20 years old. He is under contract at Trackhouse through 2027. So he is not gone. He is simply spoken for. Justin Marks called it a bittersweet moment. He told SiriusXM the timing being announced this early was problematic in some ways, though not totally unexpected. Trackhouse expanded to 3 cars specifically to put him in a Cup seat, moving Daniel Suarez out to Spire Motorsports to make room. Marks did not sign a prospect. He signed a foundation. The rookie season has not cooperated. Zillish sits 34th of 35 full-time drivers, one top 10 all year, a 7th at Sonoma. He leads the Cup Series in DNFs, and on Sunday he added his 9th, clipping Riley Herbst's stopped car on lap 225 under caution, after Austin Dillon's car blocked his sightline. What he said on the radio afterward is not printable on this channel. He will still almost certainly win Rookie of the Year, because Corey Heim is not eligible and nobody else is running. That single sentence tells you most of what 2026 has been. There is also a knot nobody has untied yet. Zillish is a Red Bull athlete, and that is a personal deal, not a team deal. Red Bull carries 25 combined races across the 88 and the 97 this season. Hendrick has Form Energy. Asked about it directly at the announcement, Jeff Gordon said those conversations simply have not happened, and that Hendrick intends to stand behind Form. Zillish said being a Red Bull athlete is one of his favorite jobs. 2 brands, 1 driver, 18 months to sort it out. And Rick Hendrick, while taking Trackhouse's best long-term asset, publicly promised to help them with a new technical alliance because he wants Zillish in competitive equipment before he ever changes uniforms. Zillish says the split was hard. He called himself a loyalty guy, said Marks has been a friend as much as an owner, and promised to leave Trackhouse better than he found it. There is no villain in this. That is part of what makes it heavy. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. Because Sunday at New Hampshire quietly argued against everything I just told you about the 97. Rain hit Loudon before the green flag. NASCAR started the race on wet weather Goodyears, treaded tires on a 1-mile oval, which for 40 laps turns the magic mile into something that is not really an oval at all. Gisbergen drove away from the field. 9 seconds. Then the track dried. NASCAR threw the competition caution on lap 40. The field bolted on slicks, and New Hampshire became New Hampshire again. He finished 20th. I want to be careful because one race is one race, and I am not going to pretend a single Sunday erases a summer of real progress. But that is the cleanest controlled experiment we have had all year. Same car. In a format that counts points instead of trophies, the floor matters more than the ceiling, because the floor is where you spend most weekends. Here is what the standings say now. Van Gisbergen is 16th, 415 points behind Denny Hamlin, who leads with 1,001. Same driver, same afternoon. Wet surface, dominant. Dry oval, 20th, and 19 points surrendered to Ryan Preece, who started 18th at his home track and came home 9th, which reframes all of it. The oval improvement is real, and the numbers are not lying. But it may be improvement measured against where he started, not against where the field actually is. Nashville and North Wilkesboro were the ceiling, Loudon was the floor, and the distance between those two things is exactly why he is sitting on the cut line instead of sitting comfortably in 10th. Preece is 31 back of the cut line. Brad Keselowski is 66 back. Ross Chastain is 81 back, and mathematically finished. Eric Jones is 96 back. Before Sunday, the cushion was 50. Now it is 31. But here's the thing about Daytona. A superspeedway does not care about your average finish. Van Gisbergen's 3 drafting track results this season read 30th in the Daytona 500, 6th at Echo Park, 20th at Talladega. That is not a trend. That is a coin. And NASCAR is changing the coin. Saturday is the debut of a new superspeedway package, with the rear spoiler cut from 7 inches down to 4, and horsepower reduced from 510 to 465. Officials expect single-car speeds a few miles an hour quicker, and pack speeds roughly unchanged, with passes on a run completing more easily. Nobody has raced it. Nobody has data. Preece needs one restart to fall his way. Van Gisbergen needs the entire pack to stay behind him, which at Daytona is not a strategy. It is a wish. There is a version of Saturday where he makes the chase on points, and a 2-win season with genuine oval growth gets the postseason it earned. There is a version where he gets collected in somebody else's wreck on lap 30, Preece takes the last seat, and every number I just read you becomes a footnote that nobody looks up. That is the margin for error in this format. One bad race changes everything, and NASCAR built it that way on purpose. But that's not even the biggest part. Zoom out and look at Trackhouse as an organization, instead of 3 separate cars. Sunday's finishing order for the whole team read 20th, 35th, 36th. Afterward, he said the speed has gotten better, that the team improved the things inside its control over the summer, and that they still have a long way to go. Marks used the word rebuilding back in April. Chastain's #1 Kubota Chevrolet went behind the wall after roughly 40 laps, with an internal engine problem. He described oil coming out of the exhaust pipe. It was his first last-place finish of the season and the end of his chase hopes. Both Chastain and Van Gisbergen are out of contract after 2027. Zillish is already placed. Marks has publicly refused to downsize from 3 cars, arguing the sponsors are there, Chevrolet wants the 3rd entry, and shrinking would send the wrong message. He also acknowledged the correlation people keep pointing at, that the speed problems arrived when the 3rd car did, and said some of them are writing their own story about it. He is not wrong that it is a story. He is also not in a position to disprove it before Saturday. So here is where everyone actually stands going into Saturday night. For Shane Van Gisbergen, it's about 31 points, and whether the best season of his career survives the one racetrack that has never rewarded him. For Ryan Preece, it's about 1 race to erase that deficit at the single track on the calendar, where a deficit that size means almost nothing. For Ross Chastain, it's about pride, and a contract year that begins the moment the checkered flag falls, with no postseason to hide inside. For Connor Zilisch, it's about 18 months of proving that 34th in points was the car and not the driver, in front of an employer already watching. For Justin Marks, it's about holding a 3-car operation, 2 expiring contracts, and a brand new Hendrick alliance in the same direction long enough for it to matter. For Denny Hamlin at 45, with a 77-point cushion on Blaney, it's about a regular season title that means more than it used to, because the chase now staggers your starting points by exactly where you finish. And for Ryan Blaney, 3 wins this year and 20 for his career, it's about walking into Darlington on September 6th as the driver nobody wants to draw. So which is it? Was this the year Shane Van Gisbergen became a complete Cup Series driver, and Saturday is just the tax you pay for racing at Daytona? Or was New Hampshire the tell, a driver who is genuinely better on ovals and still not good enough on them at a team that cannot build him a car fast enough to hide the difference? We don't know yet, and that's what makes this so fun. The answer is not in a press release, and it is not on a stat sheet. It is in 160 laps on Saturday night. I want yours in the comments, and I want you to pick one. Does Van Gisbergen make the chase, or does Ryan Preece take that seat? One or the other. No hedging. Saturday, August 29th, the Coke Zero Sugar 400. Daytona International Speedway, a rules package nobody has run, and the last names in the chase field decided by whoever is still pointed forward when it ends. Subscribe and I'll have the breakdown Sunday morning while it's still warm. I'll see you at Daytona.